Number 27, a triangle is shown. You have to find the length of AC and then enter your answer in the box. So first of all, AC is right here. We have a triangle, which is a right triangle. And if you have a right triangle, you can always use the good old Pythagorean theorem. So the Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. Well, remember, a and b have to be your legs, and your legs are the two sides that connect or meet at the right angle. So these are your legs. Your hypotenuse is always across from the right angle, and that is labeled C, and that's always the longest side. So after you do the Pythagorean theorem, this side C should be longer than the other two sides, 5 or 6 feet. So if you get C and it's shorter than 5 feet, you know you've done something wrong. And notice too how the Pythagorean theorem, it's a squared plus b squared equals c squared. You can't just add 6 and 5 and get 11, right? The Pythagorean theorem does not just say a plus b is equal to c, right? That is not what it is, okay? So a I've labeled 6 feet, so I'm going to take 6 and square it. And b I labeled 5 feet, so I'm going to take 5 and square that, and that's going to equal c squared. Now your a and b are your two legs, and it doesn't matter which leg is A and which leg is B. So if I would have switched these, it would have been fine, as long as A and B are your two legs, and that means the two sides that meet at the right angle. So I have to solve for C. So I'm going to simplify. 6 squared is 36, and then 5 squared is 25, and that's going to be equal to C squared. So when I add 36 and 25, I get 61 is equal to C squared. Now c squared is not the length of the side. C squared is, remember if we made a big square and put it on kind of the edge of that hypotenuse, that would be the area of that big square, 61 feet squared. So if we want to find the length of just one side of that big square, we have to take the square root of both sides. So on a problem like this, since it's not multiple choice, you don't know, if you're going to put what form you should necessarily put your answer in. So the square root of 61 is an irrational number. So remember, irrational means that it's going to be a decimal that goes on forever. It's never going to repeat. It's never going to terminate. On your calculator, if you take the square root of 61, you get about 7.81, and then the square root of c squared is equal to c. So I could put in here that the length of AC, I could put 7 and 81 hundredths, because it doesn't tell us to round to the 10th, round to the 100th. I'm guessing that they would accept, even if you put 7.8, they would probably accept that, or even if you put the square root of 61 and left it as a radical, I think they would have accepted that as well, okay? But don't forget about the Pythagorean theorem, because they might give you a problem like this. They might give you a problem on a coordinate grid, where they just give you, a coordinate grid, and then they put a triangle on that coordinate grid somewhere. And they might not give you a ton of direction, but they might put a right triangle on there, and then they might just say, find the perimeter of that triangle. So you might have to just use the Pythagorean theorem to find the different side lengths of your triangle. So don't forget Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. You can use that on any right triangle. And you can find, as long as a and b are your legs and c is your hypotenuse, always the longest side across from the right angle.